WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and don't blink because you might have missed them. Bill Cole joins us now. He, of course, of Cole Roofing, and I have the Royal Farms Kona Blend in my Cole Roofing mug. Billy, I'm glad you gave me the large mug instead of the small. You tried to offer me that little Dixie cup. I'm like, no. I need the 14-ounce mug. So good day to you, sir. How are you? Were you among the many that missed the Orioles this week?
Apparently I did. I'm glad. I didn't think you needed the big mug. You seem to be full of natural energy, so I didn't want to overdo it and get you the jitters.
Look, as a sponsor of the program and as a sponsor of the station, you're here to provide therapy today. So if coffee makes me warm and fuzzy and the folks at Royal Farms and the folks at Cole Roofing can provide that for me at a time of need, I'm going to the Stanley Cup playoffs here. I have great trepidation. The Orioles, I'm just beginning to wonder if anyone really cares about them. Have they created a new fan anytime recently? I'm not being rhetoric. I'm not being mean to Peter or John, who's letting kids in for free. But free kids and people still aren't coming, Bill.
Well, my question about the free kids plays into the fact that no one was at the stadium. Do they actually give the free kids a ticket and count them, or did they manage to screw that up?
No, here's what they do. Apparently,
set an all-time low, right, in attendance because they gave a bunch.
No. Come on now. Come on. You know better than that. You put the TV on. There's a lot to digest here. First off, they're the first major sports team. I was going to say major league or the NFL or the NHL. They don't give free tickets to kids in minor league baseball games because it's just not what you do. Do you do free roofs? No. Could I do free advertising? Maybe a plug, but if I do that forever, I don't have a business anymore. Their business is predicated on trying to grow, and I get that John now sort of taking over for Dad, and isn't it fascinating that nobody's ever made that announcement, right? Like we really don't even know who's running the team because it's been that way for 25 years, but John lets the kids in for free, and I know it was completely his idea, and it's wonderful, but here's one of the problems. It's almost like if the Rolling Stones played every night, people might come the first 10, 12, 15 days, but by day 162, especially if the tickets are $500, they're not coming to see the Rolling Stones anymore. So the thing with the Orioles and free tickets all year long is there's almost a paralysis about it, right? Because you have to sign up in advance. You have to sign up online. And they do, from what I understand, assign your child a seat. Now, whether that gets counted, and Marty Conway and I have talked about this, whether that gets counted against the Major League Baseball pool of tickets and how they pool money, and they do pool money, which is another reason all the owners are pissed off about the Masson money and the $350 million that he owes his partners in D.C. because they're on a hook for a third of it themselves. So he's screwed all of them out of money. That's why they're all angry at Peter, and I don't know that they'll ever be angry at Peter anymore because there's no more Peter to be angry at because he's not attending the meetings anymore. But in the case of free every night, if you've got a kid who's 6 or 7 or 8 years old, that kid's probably not grabbing you and say, Daddy, 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 let's go to 10 games, right? Like, if there's a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or an 8-year-old, I don't know that they're screaming about going to the Orioles games. And if they are, you've identified those 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year. You're going to take your 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old to a game, and maybe you'll look at it based on weather. Maybe you'll look at it based on when you're going to Ocean City or whatever. But I would be fascinated, Bill, that they announced this, about 4 weeks ago, and it's, at the time, it felt like a one-day drop, right? Like, you and I talked about that 2 weeks ago. You're like, it's not a promotion or a campaign. It's an announcement. It's a one-day sale, but it's not. I mean, they're hitting it in the games. Thorne's talking about it. They're putting the video on an adult and their child and assuming that child got in for free, and they put the chyron up. And I don't know that anybody's running to the computer and saying, yeah, I want to go May 31st against the Yankees because that's my wife's birthday, and we'll take little Johnny or little Billy or whatever. I really wonder how many tickets they've sold because of this, because the announcement's been out there a month. Everybody knows it. There's nobody listening to me right now that doesn't know you can take your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old for free. The problem is, Bill, I don't have a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old to take. And if I had one in my life, he probably wouldn't want to go to an Oriole game anyway. And it's still, not cheap. It's still like you and your wife want to take your 2 4 and 6 year olds, it's still going to set you guys back $60 or $70, and then you're going to take 2 kids running around the ballpark who may or may not want to be there. So I don't know. I mean, it sounded like a great idea. It was a great PR thing and all that. I don't know how many people have used it. Now, how many people are going to use it, that remains to be seen, and they'll come up with some fake number at the end of the year, like 9,000 people were in the ballpark on Tuesday night when there were, maybe 3,200 in the ballpark. But it has looked very, very exposed this week, and I think anybody, you should be alarmed for the city, for me, who's in the business of talking about sports for a living, because I don't know that the Orioles are a full-time occupation around here. Don't tell the folks that over at 105.7, but I don't know that you can sit and talk about the Orioles all day, every day, because I don't know that there's enough interest in them.
I think it's really interesting, to let kids in for free, and I think we're going to probably talk about it for a long time because we definitely aren't getting any data or information back that's reliable, that we believe is true.
Well, it's certainly not packing them in thus far, right? I mean, we know that much, right?
And it's fundamentally a shift, right? So it's such a big deal. To your point, no one else has ever done it. No one else does it. I mean, maybe they have a one-off reason to do it, or maybe they give a bunch of tickets to a school or something.
Well, I'll give you the one-off reason. They're desperate. I mean, they're clearly desperate. Whatever was in the ballpark this week, that's what's in the ballpark, plus the walk-up, plus the people that 3 weeks ago decided to bring their kids for free, and it looked like maybe 50 people took advantage of that. Literally. I mean, literally, if 50 people a night. Now, there'll be some Sundays, dude, right? There will be some Sundays where you won't be able to move down there. I mean, the Blast did this for years with kids, right? Like, bring a busload of kids down here. The parents will come, and the kids will all want to come back. And when they're 15, they're going to want to bring their girlfriend. And when they're 19 in college, that's not the way it's gone the last 30 years for the Blast. Although the Blast were the one sports team in the market that really, really, long before they had Jupiter Jumps out in Westminster and Owings Mills, and the Orioles put the Oriole bird in the outfield to play wiffle ball with you or whatever. Before any of that happened, the Blast were the original ones saying, bring them young, right? We got to get kids in here. They're going to love soccer. They're going to play soccer. They're going to bother mom for soccer, and they're always going to want to come to soccer, and that's how we're going to build our business. I think that's what Ed Hale thought 20 years ago. It hasn't worked that way.
They let you play on the turf. Like, that was the big thing.
Run around. You come out, you do the national anthem, right? You run through the rocket ship, right? The whole thing.
I even played soccer one season just so I could go down and play at the end of the year on the turf.
And that hasn't made you a Blast fan for life.
No.
By the way, I'm wearing my soccer shirt, Billy, if along with my Cole Roofing mug, but I don't know why soccer today. It just felt right. It feels like World Cup's coming.
I wonder if it's a fun exercise to talk about, like, when you can't get anyone to come, what are the consequences? Like, what's the real long-term consequence of this? Like, it was one thing when we were losing all the time and no one came. The focus was, well, we've got to, get better players and start winning, and then they'll come back. Well, we kind of did that, and then attendance continues to trail off.
Well, there is no growth, right? I mean, that's the one thing we've talked about as to why Paul Tagliabue didn't want to put a football team here is drive 45 minutes north and you're in Philadelphia, drive 15 minutes south and you're in D.C., or what, Burtonsville, where they would consider themselves D.C. people, not Baltimore people. And then you've got water to the east and chickens, and you've got mountains to the west and maybe now Nationals fans or Pirates fans, right? Like, so Baltimore had the problem with Baltimore as a sports community, really over the course of our lifetime, over the last 50 years, is that there's nowhere for it to grow, and Washington and Philadelphia are still there, bordering us, and they have to work harder. And there are no Fortune 500 companies in Baltimore, zero, to buy those skyboxes, to buy all that. Boy, the Orioles got off in the 90s off of all the D.C. stuff. I mean, Lucchino and Edward Bennett Williams, they got that right. Washington's money got Camden Yards built, kept the Orioles here, made them rich for 5 minutes until a carpetbagger came in, screwed it all off, sold off the children to the gypsies in D.C. They're making all the money. They have the team that's better. And now he's going to die, leave the team, and make $2 billion off of a $29 million investment. I mean, that's really what has transpired before my very eyes. And I don't know where these people are who are going to fill Camden Yards. But I do know this, Billy. They're not coming from Reston, Virginia anymore. They're not coming from Laurel anymore. They're not coming from, Capitol Heights anymore. They're not coming in from Elkton and Northeast and Lancaster and Chambersburg. They're not doing that anymore. That's over, They need to get kids walking from Federal Hill or from Canton, or they're not going to have anybody at the ballpark.
Right. It's a good time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. I mean, you win the Super Bowl and Villanova wins the national championship. I mean, it's a good time to be a Philadelphia sports fan.
And the Sixers look like they're going to play a week or two.
Right.
Now, the Flyers, I never root for the Flyers as a rule, but they are playing the Penguins, Bill. So,
right, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned, we continue to hit on this topic because there's no, visible hope. And that continues to be the issue. And I think it starts with the lack of communication from the leadership, right? So when the owner or the GM or whoever,
we don't know who owns the team right now.
Yeah, doesn't have a plan and doesn't stand in front of all of us and say, "Hey, we love you. We've been here forever. Come back." And there's just no motivation to improve things, and it doesn't seem like there's a good plan in there. And it's disappointing because, I think I've told you a couple times, there are some really good people trying to do good stuff over there, and there's just doesn't seem to be a big plan.
Well, my son's 33. All my son knows is Brady Anderson when he was little, and the last 20 years of them being a really, really poor run franchise. I mean, my son's a grown-up. You know what I mean? He's watched all of this. He's seen how I've been treated, how everyone's been treated, how players have been treated, how businesses have been treated. And, people are opining. I saw Brett Hollander, the new afternoon host at WBAL, opining the other day about why people aren't going to the game, and it's a myriad of it's a myriad of reasons. It's not Nestor's fault, I promise you that, although I was the one 12 years ago, and every time I look into that empty stadium, Bill, I think about Free the Birds, and I think about me writing a 19-chapter book about why baseball was important to me, why baseball was important to the community, why baseball was important to downtown, why baseball's held families together in the fabric of that. And you know that from Cole Roofing, 99 years. Your father was a baseball fan. It's the reason you're a baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan because my father was a baseball fan. Boy, I mean, it is really teetering here right now with this franchise on where the fan base is coming from and who is going to pay to go to Oriole games, especially now that they're letting the kids in for free, right? I'm not going to pay this year. I'm not going to go this year. I've sort of already made up if you give me a ticket, I'll go, and I live 2 blocks away. But there is no chance I'm getting my credit card out and giving them $62 so my wife and I can go sit in the upper deck for a Marlins game at some point in June,
Yeah, the free ticket thing is attacks the comment you made about it being expensive to go, and maybe that's the deterrent. And I guess an alternative view to that is that there is a certain amount of tangible expense or income that people are going to spend on these type of activities. So and they're all really expensive, right? So taking your kid to Disney on Ice at the convention center, or at the Royal Farms Arena,
or the Wild Kratts at the Model Lyric this week, as an example, our sponsors. There are some seats left for the 4:30, but putting productions on, there is no more $10 ticket.
Right.
We used to compare everything to the movies, right? And remember, we thought the movies were expensive, right? When a movie ticket went to $8, we're like, whoa! I'll buy it on DVD for $9.99, or I'll Netflix it, or I'll Blockbuster it back in the day, or whatever. When a baseball game, and look, I'm buying tickets out in Cleveland and Pittsburgh for this Ray Lewis trip. It's $25 to walk into the Pittsburgh Stadium and just walk around. It's $25 to walk in to the Cleveland Stadium on a Friday night against the A's and just walk around. I mean, the days of the bargain night, the $8 ticket, the $10 ticket, there are no more $10 tickets. And so when it's $22, $23, $25 with the juice to walk in, when you got to drive in, when you got to park, and I don't perceive the city the same way, Bill. You work in the city, you put roofs on places in the city, I live in the city. But I can imagine, the white flight, and let's be honest, only 97% of the baseball fans are white, maybe 98. I haven't done the math lately. And many of them do come in by car, by light rail. They do not walk to the stadium. They do not Uber to the stadium. They do not stumble to the stadium from Cross Street or Riley's Oyster or whatever. I see it. I live down here every night. These are people that it is a destination. They have to get in their car, get home from work, gather their kids, their wife, their friends, their belongings, whatever, drive into the city, park the car, pay a lot to park, walk into the stadium, and then they get there and there's 3,200 people. And it might be 42 degrees for the next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I don't think that for people who actively go in the city that they feel the negativity that maybe people who
never come to the city, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only stories people see on Facebook are the bad ones, right? Nobody posts, hey, went to the city, had lunch, it was great, no problems, and come home. Like, people don't, that doesn't...
I should think more about that. So when I'm walking through the harbor and it's lovely and I take a picture and it's lovely, I post it because it's lovely. I should do more of that. Like Light City's down here this week. You should come down. It's really cool. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Scouts Honor. Like, I live here. Light City's really cool. Light City's also free, right? Like, you come down, other than parking, you come down here and walk around and spend your money at Roost Chris or spend your money at Amici's, or you can't spend your money at Reggie's anymore because they're out of business. So, there's a little bit of that going on, too, as I walk through and see the decay. But I also understand that the Orioles shut the doors to their stadium, right? Literally, 36 months ago, they shut the doors to their stadium, flew a middle finger to their fans, and said, we're going to play without you. Don't bother coming. It's so bad down here that you can't come, but we're going to play baseball anyway and pipe it in on the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. And then 3 years later, all of these frightened white people are out in suburbia, frightened to come downtown, and they wonder why. It was the dumbest thing they could have ever done, Bill, playing that baseball game. There's a reason it's never been done ever before in the history of anybody's life, because it was really, really a stupid idea, and somebody out there remembers that day, and every time that it comes time to go to the ballpark, they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe because they watch the news, they live in the suburbs, and the Orioles have already said, well, it's not so great down here,
No, that's a really interesting concept of the day that they put the game over
the fans.
People. Yeah, over people. That's
and I was the only one that brought that up. Everybody thought it was a cute little clever idea. And I live on the 23rd floor downtown. I watched the tanks drive around the city. Well, the city was Beirut. There was no one out in the city, right? And there are tanks and a baseball game going on. Now, you tell me they don't have their head up their ass. So 3 years later, when there's 2,800 people and it looks like an Expos game on a Monday night, and they just had a big weekend in New York, right? Like, so everybody watched the game on TV. Billy, there used to be a time where you would see Shohei Ohtani, I want to make sure I pronounce his name right, that you would see him pitch, and you would be like, oh, my God, when did the Angels come to town, right? Like June 29, 30, and July 1, like, well, I got to get tickets for all 3 games in case he pitches one, right? And I got to go see him play. And, man, look at those Orioles. Look over the weekend. I mean, this Alex Cobb, they gave this guy $53 million. He must be something to see. We got to get to the ballpark the night that he makes his debut, or we just made this big trade, or this Matt Wieters came up, or we had this Machado mania, and we got to get to the ballpark and see the new rocket ship. And boy, that's over with, right? I mean, you take 3 out of 4 in New York, you're up all night Friday night, you beat the Yankees, you come home, and there's nobody at the ballpark because it doesn't inspire people to come. As a matter of fact, Billy, I think it inspires people to stay home. I think, like, if it's not safe and it's $23 and I got to park and I got to get in my car and I got to deal with people whose skin color's not the same as mine, and I might be frightened and it might be late getting home and the kid's got school and blah, 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 blah. Oh, and the game's on right now. It's on right here. It becomes an incredibly easy decision to stay home, right? Like,
sure.
If Led Zeppelin were playing the arena and it were $1,000, but it were on in my living room in HD, I might stay home. Led Zeppelin's okay in my living room too. I like the DVD, so I think
everybody has that problem, right?
Right.
Every team has that problem,
sure.
And there are other teams who don't have empty stadiums.
Well, the movie theater had that problem with me because I didn't want to be in there with a bunch of drunks talking during a movie, and right. I preferred I prefer to watch a movie in my home, right? Like, so
Sure.
they kept me away from that industry. And it wasn't the $12 popcorn. It wasn't the $8 jujubes. It wasn't the $6 Raisinets and the $7, Diet Coke. It literally was, I don't like people at a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that I can't stop it. I don't like that I miss it if I have to pee. I don't like it.
I have that same exact affliction, yeah.
Yeah, the movie industry chased me away because the home experience and my home theater and my sound around and my woofer box made it better to watch Titanic here than to drive to White Marsh and park my car, right, and deal with all of that. And I think sports is, we're on the road to that, and the Orioles don't have an antidote. They have no goodwill. They have no history of winning. They're about to lose their best players, maybe, with Jones and the rest of them. And
but that was a strategy, right? So baseball looked at what the NBA did, and the boom of the NBA was they made it about the players, right?
The stars, make it about the stars, right?
Yeah, you knew Michael Jordan, you knew Magic Johnson, you knew these guys more than you cared about the team. Baseball, and you can tell me whether this is actually documented and whether anybody's ever told the story, but I feel like they have, but they didn't want that to happen. So they made it about the teams. And now
they've made it about the local market even more than that. No one in baseball cares what's happening in Arizona. You know what I mean? Literally, like,
sure.
That's the thing that's happened in my lifetime. When I began doing radio in the 90s, there were large swaths of Bill Cole's and Bill Cole's wife and Bill Cole's children who knew who the starting pitchers for the Phillies were and the Mets were and the Dodgers were because they loved baseball, right? Like, they loved baseball. In the modern era, the people that love I love the Orioles. I love Orioles. Oh, the Blue Jays in town. Who's Aaron Sanchez? I thought he was a chef. And then it's a no-hitter in the 8th inning. But people don't know the visiting players. I mean, they love the orange and the black. And more than that, they love the bobbleheads. They like to drink, which I think opening day has quickly. You didn't come to opening day, right?
I couldn't. Yeah.
Opening day has become a little mini Preakness.
Yeah.
It's become something where the horse race doesn't matter. But the girls dancing at the bar outside matters, right? Like, it's a massive disco street dance party, literally from 12 till 5, and the weather was really good, back on the 29th. So I walked around. These people were not going into the game, Bill.
Yeah,
there were 10,000 people that are there to drink outside and dance and party and wear orange, but they don't know the strike zone from, the demilitarized zone. I mean, like, they're not baseball fans. They just have an orange shirt and they're pretty and they want to dance.
Right. It's a civic event, and my desire was to get down there to see other business people, friends.
No doubt about it. It's a schmooze. It's a schmooze, right?
Absolutely. And I could have cared less whether I made it to the game.
All right, Bill Cole, are you going to make it to any games this year?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, all right, yeah, you say that now. It's April. Cole Roofing, I got the mug. It says so right here. Billy, I usually tell them about the March winds and the April rain and all that stuff, and you've been incredibly helpful to me and my family recently because when your roof blows off, it's like Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan till the roof blows off, right?
Right.
Then they need you.
Yeah. So the roofing topic of the day to intertwine in your therapy is more for commercial properties right now. I would suggest people are leery that if they want their roof done right away, they're probably not going to be able to get a good, highly qualified contractor. Like, the marketplace is pretty good. The stock market's been good. Everyone seems fairly confident in their businesses, and everything's kind of rolling along. So all the roofs that we've been band-aiding since, the recession or whatever.
08, 09, that's 10 years, man.
Yeah,
that's a long time for a roof, 10 years.
All that stuff is coming off the shelf now, and everybody wants to get them done. And I think people need to understand that if you're talking to a commercial roofing contractor right now and they're not really busy, you should be concerned. You should be concerned. And that's what happens. I've seen it 100 times. When the market swings and things are busy, people end up out of, I need to get it done right now. they end up buying from someone they probably know they shouldn't, and because I'm unavailable, right, or other good guys are unavailable, and then we end up coming back and fixing that later anyway. So it's a word of caution, right? Like,
sure.
Do your due diligence on who you're talking to. If they're available next week, be concerned. I mean, on top of a good market, we had a crazy windstorm. Like, I know you're tired of the blue tarp on your house. I mean, this is not just commercial, but even residential. So you're tired of the blue tarp. You really want it done right away. Be careful. Ask the right questions.
Don't let it goof on your roof. That's what I tell people. I mean, that's part of our deal 100%. Here. Tell everybody how to find you. You're at ColeRoofing.com, of course, and Pfister Energy for green spaces on the roof. Billy does corporate and commercial roofs. He is our partner here at Cole Roofing. Give everybody the digits on finding you.
Yeah, the phone number at Cole is 410-242-0600. There's always somebody there, and anybody that answers the phone wants to be helpful, so give us a chance. Look,
man, we'll talk draft next week. Well, the Caps may be eliminated, but I'm making that up. I know everybody out there wants to hear me bag on the Caps, but I'm not going to do it because they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year because they have to, because it looks like it might be Trotz's last year. So this is my last chance to actually drink out of the Stanley Cup. Last thing for you, Masters. I got sucked into the Oriole game. For 5 hours on Sunday afternoon, so I did not watch the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th hole, but I got to it around the 14th, 15th hole by the time I watched the last hour and a half of it. It was fascinating to watch this kid walk up and down the course, and they said, well, he's at Augusta State, he's local, he's this, he's that. Everybody hates him. It's obvious. Nobody's feeling good about this kid. He's out there alone. You're looking for his parents, all this stuff. Isn't it fascinating that that's where we are now, that the Masters and CBS are so far in bed that if they don't like the real story of the guy winning the tournament, they just make one up for him. And then they let the rest of the media go out and explain to a knucklehead like me why this kid who is a drunk, who's a loner, who's a little bit of a weirdo, that everybody hates on the tour, that only gets along with his wife and her family, hates his own family lives in Augusta, isn't invited, that I have to go out on the secondary market and learn that after the tournament. It's really kind of weird that there is no more journalism anymore. There's, here, I'm paying you, say what I tell you to say, kind of like Trump's lawyer who's going to prison.
Yeah, I would offer just the only positive spin or the lesson was, the TV allowed us to root for Spieth, right? Because he's about to break a record, maybe, I don't know. He's in contention. Holy cow, this might be amazing. And that was the drama story.
And we all know who he is. And he's the nice guy. He's the guy when he loses is gracious and all that.
So he walks up on 18 and misses the putt to tie the lowest score. And the guy that wins has the same putt, and he buries it. And in the post-round interview, he says, well, I've had that putt a million times. I'm glad I knew that it doesn't move, and it was left center. And it was the same exact words that they were saying while the guy's walking up to the putt. It's like, yeah, well, it looks like this, and that's what Spieth read, and that's why he missed it. So let's see if he knows this putt. If you practice and you put in the work, when the time comes, you'll be able to take advantage of that. And that's the moral of that guy's story. He had that putt a million times. He knew exactly what it was. He did his homework. That guy, when you watch golf, that guy spent more time looking in his book than I see any of the other guys do that.
Well, the other part about him is he's such a loner and has no life and has no friends on the tour and all that stuff. That's kind of what golf is, though, right? I mean, golf is you stand out on a golf course 12 hours a day. You're probably not a very social creature. I mean, if your whole life, Tiger Woods, right? I mean, I had Armin Katayan on this week. Hey, if you want to hear a great segment, go listen to the Armin Katayan piece out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. He wrote a huge book on Tiger Woods. It came out this week. And just about how when you're that good at what you do, and it's all that you do, and it's something solitary like playing golf, chances are you're probably not a very social creature. Chances are you probably have some backward stuff other places in your life. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's part of the story of this kid Reed, who's now sort of on top of the world, but isn't getting treated at all like any other Masters winner, because I don't think he's going to get glowing endorsements and all that stuff when he doesn't talk to his family.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been other weird guys. Like, I can't quite figure out Bubba Watson. He seems like, everybody loves him, but I think he's a pretty weird guy, too. He might not have the same baggage, but to your point.
We all want the All-American boy.
Out,
we do.
Right, if you're out and you're going to practice on a driving range, thousands and thousands and thousands of shots, you're probably pretty much a loner. Like there's not a healthy dialogue that's going on where you're like quipping with your buddies while you're working through your 7-iron on the driving range. Like, so yeah.
Apparently all he did was golf and drink for about 10, 12 years of his life. So, and now he is, for now, the greatest golfer in the world for a week or two. Well, but I found it fascinating CBS didn't want to tell his story. You know what I mean? Like that to me is... It's fundamentally wrong. You know what I mean? When I put on the horse racing in a couple of weeks, and our partners at the Maryland Jockey Club have the Kentucky Derby winner, and the trainer was banged for illegally doping horses. They mention that. You know what I mean? They talk about that.
Yeah, but you're identifying the crossover between journalistic, sports reporting, and the entertainment that is the Masters, right? Like it's a TV show. It's an event that's a TV show.
I hear you, but I didn't know Patrick Reed's name. I looked at him. I'm like, who's the chunky, young-looking guy? Like I've never seen him before. I mean, I'm not a Ryder Cup. I'm not a Captain America fan. I'm just not a golf guy. So I am that guy flying in on the Sunday of the Masters that just wants to hear the story. Tell me who these guys are. Show me pictures of their pretty wives and their nervous family in the gallery and their cute little children. And let's let them tap in to get the green jacket and take them up to the little butler, up in the woods and whatever they do up there. And a bunch of white people in Tiger Woods and, women aren't allowed and all that stuff,
They missed the story. They put all their eggs in the comeback by Spieth and Fowler and these other guys who were going to chase him and he was going to fall apart. They were working that story the whole day because all these other guys were coming on and they were playing well. It just didn't materialize. And to give the guy credit, like, he made the putt. So,
we keep coming back to that, yeah.
If he missed the putt...
We're still talking.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And it's just like when Villanova wins, it's more exciting because they made shots the whole game, right? Like, basketball is fun when guys are making shots. Golf is fun when the guy makes the putt or hits the... Like, if Spieth hits the tree on 18 and he somehow manages to recover from that, but then he misses the putt at the top, and that's the finishing storyline, there's some deflation of the... Like, you want your superhero to be super. So when Villanova bangs all those three-pointers, it's like, that is awesome.
They earned it.
They're making shots.
Sure.
Right, they're making shots. That's exciting. To just be scrappy and out-rebound, get more offensive rebounds and putbacks on all the shots your guys are missing, that's not as fun to watch.
Well, I don't care if the Capitals are fun to watch or not. If they win the Stanley Cup and they do it scrappy, I'm good with it, bro. Just show me show me the trophy. He is Bill Cole. It is Cole Roofing and Pfister Energy, our great sponsor. He joins us once a week for therapy. You did a good job of therapizing me or therapying me or whatever it was here this week, man. Hey, we'll see you next week. Buckle up. We're getting closer to the draft. We're going to have an NFL schedule for you so you can plan your fall next week. And at some point, the Orioles will have some fans, okay? Hopefully by the time the Indians get here next week.
All good, man. Appreciate it.
You got it, Bill Cole, Cole Roofing. You can reach to him at Cole Roofing and Pfister Energy, our great sponsor for all things commercial and corporate roofs. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox, courtesy of our friends at Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. It's always $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. And every morning at 7 a.m., you get the morning newspaper with all of the chunky details of the day's doings. If you need breaking news, that happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. That'll be buzzing next week with schedules and the week after with NFL draft info. It's all brought to you by Dennis and Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. He'll be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.